communicator. Let's pick on zone RCs, which is going to mean zone reporting codes. I'm going to double click on that and open up this box. You can see here I've actually got my name, the front door. Pulse alarm's a 01, which means it's going to report the alarm. Now the restoral is a 00. Now you can see it's contact ID and SIA here. Now the restoral's a 00, the bypass 00, and the trouble's a 01. So right now, anything that has a 01 means it's going to report that. Anything that has a 00 means it will not report. So if I need to get this to report a restoral, just type in a 01. And it is that easy. Now we're actually getting down here to the automation side. Either we can left click on automation to bring up the stuff on the main screen, or we can select, since this is a plus button, and pick out which one we want. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to jump all the way down here to rules. I'm just going to show you how to write some rules. I'm going to double click on rules. I'm just going to open up the new box here. To start off with a new rule, we need to go up here to new. So I'm going to left click on that. It's going to open up a new box here. So now we have our new rule box. We can comment rules if we need to, but I'm not going to do that right now. I'm just going to talk about exactly how a rule works. So first of all, a whenever is actually going to trigger the rule itself. It could be a time, it could be a zone change, it could be an output change. Well, just to exactly show you what it is, let me just click on whenever and have the drop down box. The nice part about this is you don't have to learn a programming language to make this work. So in order for me to write a rule, I'm going to go down here and select a zone input change. So I'm going to left click on that. The box is going to ask me, well, which zone do you need zone input change for this rule to work? Well, right now I'm going to select the front door, and when it becomes not secure, so I'm going to click OK. See, this is the first part of the rule. So I'm just going to go to then and select something for the panel to do. So I'm going to left click on then and come down here, and I would just like this to beep the keypad. Maybe you have small children and you want to know whenever they open up the front door. And right now it's going to start beeping all the keypads in area 1. Well, that's exactly what I want to happen, so I'm now just going to click OK. Now down here on the lower right hand side of this, you can see the done button. We can actually press that, or we can go up here and write a comment. So if I want to, I can say, I'm now going to go down here and click done, and this is now going to show up in my rule section. And you can see my comment is actually a different color. I'm now going to click on new to begin the next rule. Well, this rule, maybe I would like to turn on a light when the front door is open, but it only makes sense to turn on that light if it's dark outside. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to left click on whenever. I'm going to come down here again to zone input change. I'm going to select the front door becomes not secure. But now I need to use a conditional statement, which will actually be the AND statement. So I'm going to left click on AND. Now with the AND box, there's a whole different choice that we actually have. And one of them is light dark. And that's exactly what we're going to talk about in this rule, is that I only want the light to turn on if it's dark outside. So then I'm going to select dark outside. And now the then is, I need to trigger this rule to actually turn on that front porch light. So I'm going to go to then, and again scrolling down here, it's going to be control lighting. As soon as I hover over that, the second little box pops up, and this actually needs to be an individual light. So I'm going to left click on that, and it's now going to bring up all the lights I have. Well, I didn't program any lights, but I'm going to pretend light 1 is actually my front door lights, and I like to turn it on. Now down here we can also turn this on for duration. Well, let's say I'm just letting the dog out, maybe I just want to have the light on for 10 minutes. So I can come in here, type in 10, and click OK. So what's going to happen is, whenever the front door becomes open and it's dark outside, we're going to go ahead and turn on that light for 10 minutes. So this rule is actually going to be based on sunrise sunset of the panel. So we're going to go ahead and click done there. Well, a rule I always like to talk about in training classes is, let's say you have a teenager and they're trying to sneak out of the house on you. What we can do is write just a custom rule to kind of help remind them that this isn't a good idea. So what I'd like to do is go up here to new, and this is just a good way of kind of showing some things that you can actually do with the panel if you just use your imagination a little bit. So what I'd like to do is come down here to whenever, and I'd like to select a zone input change, and we're going to pretend that this is your teenager's window. We're just going to select zone 3 for this and click OK. Well, and we don't need this rule to be working all the time. We just need it to work during certain times. So I'm going to say whenever the time is relative to a specific time, and I would like to say it's going to be later than, let's say, 10 o'clock at night. anything after 10 o'clock and this window becomes not secure, we need certain rules to actually happen. What I like to do is show the then part. Well, what would you like this rule to do? Well, for me, I would like to go ahead and chirp the outside siren. Let's say either someone's trying to sneak out of the house, or maybe somebody's trying to sneak in the house. Let's say a teenage boy is. Well, we'd like to go ahead and scare him, so let's go ahead and chirp that outside siren. Well, let's chirp that 2 times. Then, let's go down here, and we can go ahead and speak something. So we can actually remind her, maybe we set up a miscellaneous message in the panel. We can remind her or him that this isn't a good idea, so we can click OK there. But to me, that's still not enough. I'm still not getting my point across. So what I would like to do, especially for teenage girls, they got to have their makeup and hair just right. So what I like to do is turn on the outside sprinkler system. So I'm going to go again back to then. I'm going to come down here to turn on or off output. I'm going to select turn on output, and output 3 is our dry contact relay built on the board. Let's say this is the output that we actually have wired into the sprinkler system, so we would like to turn this one on for duration for 5 minutes. If it is a teenage girl trying to sneak out, again we're going to mess up her hair and makeup. But let's say it's a teenage boy. This gives an opportunity to go ahead and cool him off, to calm his hormones down a little bit. So we're going to go ahead and click OK there too. Now again, I'd like to comment this rule. I'm just going to call it the teenager sneak out rule and click done. Well, since I do have a little bit of time here, what I like to do is I like to show you just one other rule. And this is something I use in my house a lot. So let me go over here to text. A text is something you actually want to send the text to. So you can send the text to, let's say, a keypad. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go up here to New and left click on that and enter a text string. Well, I like to remind myself to take out the trash. Now you can see the way this is working, as it's going to scroll across the keypad, all the words aren't going to match up, so it's not going to look good. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take out the, and just have it say take out trash. I still have a couple of characters left, so I'm going to remind myself with some exclamation points and click OK. Now what I could do is I'm going to write a rule based upon that. The days that trash is supposed to be picked up, I'm going to have this actually sent to the keypad and start beeping the keypad to remind me to take out the trash. Also, something that we forget about is checking the air filter. So for me in my house, I just have it every 30 days. Just send this to the keypad when I normally get home from work. So mine just says check air filter. So I'm going to go back down here to left click on rule. I'm going to write a new rule. Let's say whenever. And for me, I'm usually leaving the house about the same time every day. So I'm going to say trigger the rule, and let's say at 7:20. Now, remember, usually the trash guy is only going to come, once or twice during the week. So I need to use an AND statement to make sure we narrow this rule to only work on those certain days. Let me click on AND and come down here to the date is. So since this rule only needs to work on specific days of the week, that's exactly what I'm going to pick. So I'm going to left click on specific days of the week, and maybe trash gets picked up, Mondays and Thursdays of where you live. And now we're going to click OK. So now this rule is only going to work on Mondays and Thursdays at 7:20 in the morning. Then is exactly sending that text to the keypad. So I'm going to come down here, select send text to keypad. It's going to ask me which one. Well, it's the first one, take out the trash. And right now, it's going to display all the way until somebody presses the star button on the keypad to get the keypad to stop beeping. So now you know somebody actually had to go to the keypad and see it scroll across the keypad since they did press the star button. So I'm going to click OK there, and I'm going to click Done. Now I'm also going to show you how to write the other rule for text, which was check the air filter. So I'm going to say whenever, and again I like to do this one at night. So I'm going to pick, let's say 7:30 at night instead of 7:30 a.m. Because a.m. I wouldn't be at home. So 7:30 p.m. and pick a specific day of the month. Let's just say the date is equal to, the 15th day of the month. And click OK. So now every month on the 15th day this rule is going to activate. Again, we need to send that text to the keypad. So I'm going to come down here, send text to keypad. Take out trash pops up. That's not the one we want. We actually want to check air filter. So now we click OK. Just basic rules that we actually have. Now for troubleshooting, there's some things we can actually do. Let's say you're having trouble getting a rule to work and you're not sure why. Maybe you might have a conflicting, because you can see the more rules you write, you actually have to start scrolling up and down to be able to see them. You can also take a rule, and if you left click on the rule, say the little hand pops up for a second, we can actually move that rule up. So now I can make my check air filter rule will be number 1. I can also disable a rule and send that to a keypad. I didn't delete the rule, but I just made that rule non-operational for right now to check to see if maybe it's conflicting with another rule. If it's not, I can go back here and enable it and send that to the panel. So now what I need to do is I actually need to be able to connect to the panel. So I'm going to go back to the account details page, and for myself I'm actually going to type in my IP address of my Ethernet module itself. So for connection for me is actually going to be on the network. So I'm going to left click on network. You can see here it's a little computer. It's trying to connect to a keypad. See, it says different firmware version. What it is the software has never connected to the panel, so the firmware versions of course is going to be different since it doesn't know anything. Now we actually have conflicts found. You can see this big yellow stuff's popped up down here at the bottom. What it is default the software has conflict resolution. What we can do is we have zone 1 here, so I'm going to select zone 1. I can view the difference. So I'm going to come up here and see the difference is the system, which is the panel, says the name is just zone 1. Our database says no, it's actually called the front door. So what I can do is I can decide whether I want to receive this and to the computer, or I can send the information from my computer to the panel. And for me, I'm going to send this information to the panel. Again, we can do this for zone 17, 18. What this is, I actually have a wireless receiver. So I need to receive that information. Now you can go through here with each one, or you can do a receive all or send all, depending on what you need. If this was a panel that was already out in the field, you can do a receive all, or if you just would like to go through and select each individual one, you can actually do it that way. For me, I'm going to do a send all. So I'm going to come up here to send receive button, click on that. As you can see, there's actually a send all. Or what we can do is we can go here to users, and if we right click on users, we can just send all users. We could do this for each one if you want to show you some different ways. But for me, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go ahead and do a send all. And this will roughly take a minute or two. Now I actually have one conflict left. This is I've got a second keypad wire up to my panel here in my office. What I'm going to do is I'm going to receive this, and this will actually drop away. All my conflicts have now been resolved. Again, down here I've actually got a yellow light since I've been modified, so I need to go up here and hit the save button. We're actually saving the account information, so we've actually successfully programmed the panel. So now I'm going to disconnect from the panel, and this will actually conclude this video.